Hello and welcome to my channel, Canadian Board Game Replays. And welcome to Loot. Loot is a great worker placement game about the Vikings' exploration of the sea with their long ships as they gather resources and capture buildings. As always, I'll put a link in the comments for a how-to video if you're not familiar with this one. But other than that, let's just dive right in. So this game is myself, Paul T111, against my opponent in red. So you can see we've got three main boards here. The left is the public board, the middle is my private board, and then the right is my red opponent's private board. So we'll be putting Vikings on our private boards, and then, or sorry, Vikings on the public boards, and then taking tokens from them onto our private boards to score points. And also be claiming long ships, which are at the bottom of the public board, to put on our private boards. And like all games, we're looking to score points. And let's just dive right in. So you can see here the red opponent is going to play first. So what you'll see is playing on the public board. So he placed on the axes. So that means he gets to put an axe on his private board. You'll see put it in the kind of the bottom left area there. Unconventional move. Usually you try and go for things that you need. So for example, if you can see on the three building icons that he has on his private board. So there's one in the top right, one on the kind of the top left, and then one kind of in the bottom right area. And those have icons on them indicating what you need to get to activate those. And you'll see there's no axes on any of them. So pretty unconventional start, but everyone plays their own way. Let's see how it all turns out. So he gets to place a house as well. You can see where he put it on the public board is adjacent to a house, and that allows him to take one house from there and put it on his private board. So he puts it down in the bottom right, which is one of the things that's on that building's tile. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's see how we keep going. So now I put it on the trees. So let's see where I go with that tree. So you can see it's needed for that guy there. So I get that. I also get a house as they did. Okay, so you can see here, I'm going to use a shield. So there's three shields up here. The first shield, which I'm using now, allows you to play two Vikings in one turn. I usually like to use it early on, especially in a situation like this where it allows me to grab a couple extra houses. It also allows me to kind of get out in front of my opponent in terms of connecting. On the public board, you always want to look at connecting between towers and castles, as those are areas that are going to get you valuable tokens. So I played again. So that got me gold, which I just put in the corner because I didn't need it, and then extra house, which I put it over there. So you can see in the top left of my private board now that I have all my house requirements. I need two houses. I have two houses. So it's great. I can start moving on to get a tower, and yeah, that'll be great. So I need a tower and looks like a gold for that one. So we'll work towards that. So he gets another axe. Looks like he's accumulating axes, which is interesting. He uses to go again as well. Gets another axe. Does acquire two towers, which you can see he's placed one in his top left, which satisfies that tower requirement, and then one down in the bottom with his castles, which also satisfies that tower requirement. So that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So I go there, I grab an axe. Now in this case, actually I misread that before. That's an axe. So I need an axe in that top left corner to activate. So that's good. So all I'll need there, I think, is a tower, which will finish activating that. So we'll work on that for future turns. You can see he goes here. Sheep kind of blocks me a little bit. Good strategy on his part. There is a Viking shield that allows me to get around that, which I'm using now. So what that does is, let me just pause here for a sec. You'll see on the public board near the bottom middle, there's now a cell that has a red and a blue Viking on it. So that was me using one of my Viking shields, which allows me to build on the same tile as his token. You can only do it once a game, so it's kind of precious. But in this case, I felt that connecting my blues was valuable. And it also activated this tower over here on the right side by connecting the two towers. Even though one of the towers is empty, it's still considered connected for the game. So that'll get me a tower here. And you can see that I placed it. So I just overturned my first building on the left side. So that scores points. So that's great. And then I'm on my way to doing the same thing in the top right one as well. So yeah, let's see how the keeps going here. So I also completed a Viking longship here. So I should be clear that the longships, their purpose, they're -5 points until they get turned over. Then once they turn over, they're no longer -5, and they give you some kind of buff or bonus. So in this case, you can see the one that's flipped over, kind of on my left mid side of my private board. You see it has a picture of a house on it. If you go all the way over on the right side to that bar on the right side, you'll see how much each item scores for each of us. So for him, houses score 1. For me, houses score 2, and that's because of the Viking longship. And that's one of the reasons that I'm a bit ahead here. I'm up 18-3, and one of the reasons is probably going to be that bonus because I do have 2 houses, so that's an extra 2 points. And then a matter of how many unflipped longships do I have? I don't have any. So if we look on his side, he's got one unflipped longship, so that's a -5. So that's kind of how the differences are starting to happen. So let's see. So he takes a longship there, 2 trees and a sheep. I place over here bottom for a sheep and take a longship, which is well positioned there. So that's good. So he just flipped over a longship, also good. And he gets a couple towers for his troubles, which he actually doesn't need, but they do still score 2 points each, so it's still a worthy buy. So I go for axes, which I grab there, and a house, which I go there, and another Viking ship. Okay, they take grass, which they need for that Viking ship, so that makes sense. I take sheep. Yep, very good. So at this point, let's just take a look where we're at. So I've turned over one of my buildings. He hasn't turned over any of his 3 buildings. So that's, less than great, but you never know. Comebacks are possible, certainly doable. And as we look on our board for longships, I have 1 longship that I flipped, so that's good. And I have 3 that I haven't. On his board, he's got 1 that he's flipped, and then 1 that he hasn't. So if we look at the score, it's 11-7 for him. But that doesn't really tell a lot in this game, especially when you've got, like I do, 3 longships that haven't been flipped over yet. Like that's a -15 right there. And I always have plans to flip over my longships eventually. So that's a point. Also, one thing to point out is we only have 6 turns left. If you look in the bottom right corner of each of our private boards, you'll see our meeple with the number 6 in the top right corner of the circle. That tells you how many more meeples you have left. So you got to start planning ahead, trying to figure out how am I going to close off these long ships with only 6 turns left, because you don't want to be caught out because they are, like I said, -5 each. So let's keep on going. So red's playing. Okay, so red used their shield to build on the same square as me in that top kind of rightish area, looking for more axes. So that's their prerogative. They can certainly do that. And they got a couple houses for the troubles. And one house and 1 castle. The castles are needed for the bottom building. So looks like I've got a lot of catching up to do in that front. So I did get a castle here, which I placed there. And I picked up another longship, which goes there. Yep. So he's playing sheep, which turns over a longship for him. And that's good. Let me take my turn here, and then we'll stop and see where we're at. So there we go. Okay, so let's stop and see where we're at. So actually, let's just finish my turn for up here. So we got tower, another castle. So I don't need the castle, so I just put it somewhere to score. And now let's take a look at where we're at. So now the score is 17 to 27 for red. And if we look at where we're at on the board, he still has not turned over any of his buildings. I have turned over one of my buildings. And then I only have one longship turned over so far. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 that are not flipped. So that's a negative 20 right there. And on his board, he's got 2 longships that are flipped and no longships that aren't. So, I mean, he doesn't have those negative points, but he also doesn't have the upside potential of flipping them over, which is, what I'm always aiming for at this point of the game. So they're going to get more axes. I should point out, there is a prize for the person with the most axes. You can see it's actually at the top of the public board. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, depending on the number of axes you have. The first to one of those gets the opportunity to claim them, and they can be sizable. I mean, if you get 6 axes, that's worth 21 points, and he's at 5. So he might be going that route to score that. So we'll see how it turns out. So he takes another longbow. Puts it over by his 3 axes. I go there, grab a gold, which serves to flip over that longship, which is great. He grabs trees, which flips over a longship for him, and that's a good one. The castle's worth 3 plus. Very good. So I get another gold, which flips another longship over. So that's excellent. Excellent stuff. And you'll notice here I got 2 gold for that one, and that's because I used my Viking shield, my 3rd one, which allows you to take 2 of a resource when you play a Viking that turn. So in this case, I managed to get 2 gold, which is good. Gold's pretty valuable. They play sheep. Okay, looks like they played double sheep there. They use their shield as well. All right, so I played an axe, which flipped over to their longship. And then you can see there, I just claimed the 6 axe bonus, which is going to probably going to catapult me into the lead, I would think. Let's just let that take effect and we'll see. Okay, so now we can see the score is, wow, 74 to 33. I've really launched on this one. And the reason for that is if you look on my board now, I still only have the one building, sorry, I have 2 buildings flipped now, the top left and the top right, working on the bottom one still. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 longships flipped over and only 1 unflipped. So that's how this game works. You can really, the tide can flow very quickly when those longships get flipped. Now in his case, he has 1, 2, 3 longships flipped and none unflipped. So again, he doesn't have that upside potential that I had before I flipped over my longship. So let's see how this keeps going. All right, so he grabs another axe. And then I grab some trees, which flips over my final longship, which is great. Launches me into even more of a lead, so that's good. And that's it. That's the end of the game. Kind of a bit of a abrupt end, but that's that's it for the game. So let's see how it scores out here in the end. It's just Okay, so you can see for me 82 points, 21 for the axes, which is good. I feel like he made a couple errors this game that could have gone better for him. Like, for example, he didn't even claim his axe bonus, and he had 6, so he wouldn't be able to get mine, but he could have gotten the 5, which I think is still worth 15 points. So I feel like this player he's a bit newer, he's learning the ropes a little bit, so I'm sure they'll learn from this and come back stronger. So, and that's the game. So thanks everyone for watching. As always, I appreciate your time coming to my channel. If there are any games you want me to commentate, please mention them in the comments. Also, any general feedback would be appreciated. I'd like to learn and grow and be more entertaining for you if I can. So feel free to make those comments there. And I look forward to you coming back to the channel for more videos. Don't forget to subscribe if you can, so you can get notified when I do post more videos. Thank you very much. Bye.